Get the tweet out. Get the bot in here and get our Discord server posted. All right. Hello, everyone. This is Chris Ingerson, and it is October 22nd, and this is the October 22nd TextQuest Devstream. So, today we are going to be working on a few minor enhancements to the conversation system. The things I want to start out with first are going to be adding audio support to animations, and that's mostly because I want to add little twinkle sound effects to the crown animation whenever the king shows up. I'll show you what that looks like, if it so chooses. So I'm going to go ahead and talk, and you'll see when the king shows up, he's got some little sparkles that happen here. It's picking randomly from a set of labels that I have there. I will probably actually change that behavior to be, I think it's going to be more interesting to make it a little bit more like shiny effects on Pokemon, if you've ever seen that, which is basically like this little ring of sparkles that comes up. So it'll be like twinkle, 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 twinkle. And they'll be playing not in sequence, but overlapping with one another to make it more apparent. In any case, that's just a minor thing that I wanted to do. So I wanted to add a little like twinkle sound effect there. As far as actual audio goes in relation to talking, I think that's going to be done differently. It's going to be handled by the label that's showing the text rather than the ASCII animation. But it certainly would be nice to have some audio capabilities for ASCII animations. So that's what we're going to start off with today. And then that shouldn't take us too long. I'm going to do... It's going to be a bit of a weird approach because it's going to be compartmentalized. It's not going to be part of the base ASCII animation. Instead, it's going to be part of sort of like an override class. And from there, we will look at adding support for flagging items as being added and removed from the inventory. So for example, if I go to, let's see here, let's go to our test character, stop playing too, come back over to here, conversation data. You can see that we have all of these topics, and data setters is the terrible thing that I have here, and now that I think about it, I should probably just rename it to be not data setters, but like effects, I guess. And one of those effects could be setting data. But the other thing that it could do is add and remove items from your inventory to allow you to basically give things to people in conversation and receive things from them in conversation. That's going to be accompanied with a little modal type thing that shows up, like slides on screen and shows you the item that you got, and then that'll slide off screen. Hello, Dusted. Welcome back. How you doing tonight? So there are all kinds of enhancements that we're going to be doing, but we're going to start with audio, and this is going to be a little odd because, so if we, there we go. So if we come up to here, the way that audio is going to be handled is going to have to be kind of strange. I'm going to select this. Did I derive that from base? Good, I did. So instead of, it's not just going to take a simple field. Because of how we need to be able to control these things, I basically need to have some amount of control over where the audio plays. So for example, I don't want the twinkle to happen right away on those sparkles. I want it to happen when they get to their largest point, which means that I would be looking at the curve here, and I would want to play it basically in the middle here. So probably what I would do is I would add, and of course this is a separate thing entirely. Oh man, that's going to really complicate things. Yeah, that really complicates things. All right. So actually, no, it doesn't. We would basically add audio down here, and what audio would have is it would have a curve. Well, there are a variety of things that it could do. It can have a curve to basically control the volume. It can have a curve to control when audio is played, which would actually allow it to play audio multiple times in the same go. And those are the two main ways that I can think about it. There could also just be you don't have to control it with a curve, it's just simple. Um, so we'll add that to a couple of different things. The way I'm going to handle this, I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to add it to the ASCII animation base. Instead, it's going to be kind of its own thing. So we'll go ahead and start with ASCII label animation because that's what we're using it for, and then I will probably port it to ASCII animation itself later. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and just create C# script, and I'm going to call this ASCII label audio animation. Or ASCII audio label animation. That'll probably be better naming conventions. All right. Oh, and of course we are going to be doing coding today. So let's go ahead and open this up. I also really should put these in their own little namespace because it's getting to be its own complicated system. In any case, this is going to derive from ASCII animation base, and this is going to be a little different from ASCII label animation, which is going to be somewhere around here. Find all references. Here it is. All right, because we're pretty much going to do the exact same thing as this, except it's going to have, which I guess means I could derive from this actually. So I don't need to derive from that. Instead, I can just say ASCII label animation. And then I can add a field for audio. And this is going to be its own little class that we need to use. Create a folder, call this audio. And I'm going to call it, I guess, something like ASCII audio data. That's probably the best I can think of. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and create C# script. We're going to call this ASCII audio data. That's probably fine. And what this is going to do is essentially, it's going to take a sound ID to let it know what sound it should play. And then it's going to have various types that it can use. So let's go ahead and come back here. And I hate how long it takes to compile. I don't want to create another script or it's going to cause problems. So we're going to need a enum value up here, which is going to be ASCII audio type, I guess. That makes sense. Yeah. Let's go ahead and create C# script, ASCII audio type. And all we need to do here is it's going to have three different types. Simple, let's see, simple, curve, well, no, simple, single, and multiple. That sounds right. All right, so I'm going to make this derived from byte, make it an enum. I'm going to go ahead and start. ASCII. I'm going to go ahead and start namespacing this stuff a little bit more smartly. Smarter? Wouldn't be more smarter, that'd be terrible. It's terrible grammar. All right, so this is going to be simple is going to be equal to 0. Single is going to be equal to, I don't really like single because that implies something else. Um, so simple controlled, I guess. Controlled is equal to 5, and then what would I do for this? Multiple, I guess, is equal to 10. Might as well use a flag style. Welcome back. Don't worry, you didn't miss much. All I did was ask you how you're doing. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and say determines how audio is played in ASCII animation. Nah. ASCII animation. That's good. Okay. Play the sound at the start of the animation. We'll say play a one-off sound at the start of the animation. Play a sound at the start of the animation and control its volume based on a curve. Play sounds during animation based on values in a curve. Okay, and we'll also say play one-off sounds so that it's more obvious. Doing good? Well, that's good. Things a little less hectic for you at work, hopefully. How you doing? I'm doing all right. I have 2 weeks to the next showing of TextQuest, and I'm going to try to get this new conversation system done so that I can play test it because I like it and I really want to see how people interact with it. And also, it will replace the cutscene that keeps just not interesting players. All right, so we're going to go ahead and let that compile. We're going to change this. It's not going to be a struct. I really wanted to make it a struct, but because it's going to have to keep track of some things, it needs to be a class. We're just going to have this. We're going to call, it's not partial. It's not a partial class. System.serializable. We're going to put this in dot ASCII animation as well. I got the opposite problem now. Too much free time at work. Hope the showing goes well. I hope so too. It shouldn't be too stressful for me, honestly. It's just going to be a local event, so I don't have to travel anywhere. And it's only one day, so should be fairly therapeutic, I'm hoping. Alright, so ASCII audio data. We're going to go ahead and say public. Here is where it gets fun. So we're going to do sound select. I guess I don't have that here, do I? Alright, fine. Int sound is equal to 0. We're going to make this a sound ID. And then we're going to go ahead and say, in addition to that, we're going to want a public ASCII audio type. Type is equal to ASCII audio type dot simple. And we're going to go ahead and tooltip these, of course. Tooltip do sound to play. Actually, did I make this? I'm reasonably sure that I made this a sleepy an SOS. Nope, I didn't. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick. Label. All right. So I'm just gonna go ahead and set this up as a set label, ref label. Okay. We're gonna come back here. Get rid of you. Sound to play. I will just say that. Then I'm gonna go ahead and say tooltip determines when the sound is played. I will say when and how. And then we'll go ahead and say serialize field, not serialize field, public. Public animation curve. Curve is going to be equal to animation curve dot ease in out 0f 0f 1f 1f. Do I want that to be the case actually? No, I actually probably want it to be the reverse there. All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and tooltip that and say determines. Wow, curve to evaluate sounds along, I guess. Curve to evaluate sounds along. All right, that's pretty much all we need to do in terms of fields. But now we have a couple of other things that we need to do. We're going to need to private sound source. This is going to be our cached source. Do I want to do that? That's a very good question. It probably should. All right. So we're going to say cache source is equal to null. No, because it's got to be multiple. So we're going to go. It has to be able to support multiple. So we're going to say using system.collections.generic. We're going to go ahead and make this a list. Okay. Set that to be equal to a new list sound source. All right. And then here's where it gets interesting. I'm going to go ahead and say public void evaluate animation. We're going to give it a float time. Normalized time. There we go. That's what we want. All right. And we are going to say that this is just going to say switch type. And then we're going to go ahead and say case type dot simple. Oh, actually, you know what? I need to have a none in here just in case. So this should be 2, then 4, then 8. And then we're going to go ahead and have a none is equal to 0. Play no plat. Play no audio. Alright, so we don't have to do anything if it's none. If it's case, audio type simple, we're going to go ahead and break. All we're going to do there is say if normalized time is equal to 0f, then we are going to go ahead and just play a one-off sound. So we'll say sound manager dot play sound. And we're not going to worry about positioning or anything else, except we apparently have to. So good on that. No, all right. And then we're gonna go ahead and say case audio type dot controlled. This is where it gets weird. We're gonna say break. All right. Then we're gonna say if normalized time is equal to 0f. We're gonna go ahead and say else we are going to say. It's going to be a little awkward, but cached. Right, I call that sources. So this should be called sources. Say sound source. Source is equal to sound manager dot play sound null, and then we're going to say source dot volume is equal to. Oof, okay. A couple of things. One, we're going to say it is equal to. Oh man, this is super awkward. I guess the way that I want to do this is we're going to say it's equal to the curve dot evaluate based on normalized time. And then we're going to go ahead and say sources.add source. Also, hello Rayum. Welcome to the Devstream. I am very much still working on it. It has taken me a while, but it is getting better every day. Currently, we are working on a brand new conversation system that I'm hoping to get in for the next demo build that I have. And right now, we are working on audio support for ASCII animations. So, should be fun. Also, what convention was it, if you don't mind me asking? I always get a little excited when people say that they played it and they remembered it and they're looking forward to it. So, not to put words in your mouth. All right, so we add it to our list of sources. We set the volume. That's all good. So all we have to do here is we're going to say if sources.count is greater than 0, then we're going to say sources of 0 dot volume is equal to curve dot evaluate based on normalized time. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to peek this. I'm pretty sure that, yeah, okay, this doesn't have to do anything specific, so that's good. All right, and we don't need to do parent sound or anything like that. All right, so the last thing we need to do here is we're just going to go ahead and say case ASCII animation type dot multiple. We're going to break out here, and here's where things get fun, because basically what I want to do is I want to say if I should probably do an equals. Okay, so I'm going to say if curve dot evaluate based on normalized time is equal to 1f, then we're going to go ahead and just do the same thing here. We're basically going to do this. That's all we're going to do. We're not going to keep track of it or anything like... Oh, wait, no, we are going to keep track of it. I lied. The question there then becomes, should I stop it? Yeah, I probably should. All right, I'm going to add that, I guess. So we're going to say tooltip, Andy PopCon, nice. Yeah, I've been at PopCon every year that PopCon has existed in Indianapolis, so I was definitely there every year that you went. You ever make it to Canada, let me know. You're up on... Are you near Nova Scotia, Dustin? For some reason, I thought you were further east. Because I occasionally go up to Toronto. Because that's like only an 8-hour drive for me. Only. So it's not too much of a terrible time for me to get up there. But much farther than that, I would probably have to fly there, which would be a very expensive flight. Halifax. Okay. I have no idea what the drive distance there is. I am assuming it is quite large. Because Canada is big. Yeah, there's a small text-based adventure conference there that's called Wordplay, I believe, and it's hosted in Toronto, and I think they do it every November. And one year I showcased there, but I was not able to attend, and and I couldn't attend because it was the only year that it wasn't done in Toronto, Canada. It was done in freaking London, and I was very angry about that because I really, 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 really would have liked to have gone there and seen what people were doing. But what are you gonna do? Just wanted to drop in a minute and show support. Well, I very much appreciate it. It's always it is always very reassuring to me whenever people come in and say that they're wanting to support the game. That gives me a huge boost. So thank you. Enjoy the coding. I will. And you have a wonderful night. Thanks for stopping by. All right, we're gonna go ahead and say public. This is gonna be a bool, so we're gonna say bool stop on animation finished to false. We'll say if true, sounds will be stopped when the animation is finished playing. All right. So if that's the case, we're actually going to change this up a little bit, and we're going to say we're going to do all this fun stuff. We're just going to say sources.add source, which I guess I could actually just directly do. So go ahead and come back here. I'm just going to get rid of this, and we're going to do the same thing down here, and then all I'm going to do is when we evaluate animation, we're going to say else if normalized time is greater than or equal to 1f and sources.count is greater than 0. We're going to go ahead and come down here, and we're just going to say for into I equals 0, I is less than sources, sources.count, I plus plus. Sources of I dot stop. Ooh, you know what? That gets a lot more complicated, doesn't it? Okay. Yeah. Yep. All right. Because I need to remove them if they're quick. So this actually does need to change. We're gonna move this back. Add source, even though that's not a thing yet. So we're gonna say do. We're gonna say do sound source. Sound source is equal to that. And then we're gonna go ahead and say come back down here. Private void on sound finished. Sound source sources remove source. All right. We can probably just do this, and I think we'll be fine. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just say sources. Oh, I wouldn't even really need to do that, but I'll still do it just to be safe. You were apparently in Columbus 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I was at GDEX. It's a pretty nice convention over in Ohio. If you get a chance, I definitely recommend going. It's not too expensive, and you get a pretty good amount of content for a weekend. Plus, Columbus is really nice. their city market puts Indianapolis' city market to shame. It's quite good. London, Ontario isn't too much farther. Well, so it wasn't in London, Ontario. It was in London, England. So it was a mite few more miles for me. Oh, well, yeah. I definitely recommend going, especially if you already live in Columbus. Then. All right. So we have our sources in here. We've added them, and we are now removing them, stopping them if we get through here. So we should be good. All right. Do I even need this check really? Not entirely, honestly. We can probably just get rid of that. That'll be fine. Let's go ahead, and it's pretty much going to be the exact same thing here. So we're going to move back to here. I'm going to pop this right there. Oh, right, I forgot the important bit, which is source.on sound complete plus equals on sound finished. And we're going to go ahead and put that down here. All right. And then we're just going to copy this. So this is... That's a good point. So we're going to go ahead and say if stop on animation finished and that. We need to do the same thing. Go ahead and say if animation finished. Except this actually needs to go in front of this. So we're going to put this here. And then we're going to put an else statement. All right. So that should handle everything. And it should clean up properly, so we shouldn't have to worry about that. So I think that'll properly handle everything. All right, nice. So let's go ahead and come back over to here. I'm just going to go ahead and say public ASCII audio. Oh, right. We're going to go ahead and make this part of the ASCII animation namespace. ASCII audio, ASCII audio data. There we go. Audio is going to be equal to new ASCII audio data. All right. And here is where it gets fun. That's okay. I should have expected that Canada would have a city called London. Um, Not because I'm being stereotyping and know that it was a former British colony, but because it's very common for cities in the Americas to be named after cities in Europe. Uh, all right, so we're going to override animate label coroutine, but it gets to be a little different here. Just because I need a way of passing in a normalized value, which I think is going to be basically this value, index divided by frame rate. And this is something that I was thinking about. It's going to be very interesting to try and set this up to be what you would expect, because for multiple audio type here, it's only going to play the sound if the curve is set to 1 at that point. So what I need to do is I need to basically come up with a nice automated way for me to say, like, fill in the 1 values at every animation frame. So we're probably going to be doing a little bit of editor trickery in a little bit, but for now, all we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and copy this, paste that here. It's going to override that. We're going to say using system.collections and using tmpro. Okay. And okay, using system.collections.generic. Okay. So I think that's pretty much everything that we need to do. Apply animation timing is probably fine. Actually, I can do that even more easily. We're just going to go ahead and get rid of this, and I'm going to make this virtual. And then I can just call override apply animation timing, and we can just call base.apply animation timing, and then I can say audio dot evaluate animation based on lerp. Very straightforward. Don't have to do much. I'm reasonably sure that this lerp value is the raw value. Yep. All right, nice. So that should work. So let's go ahead and see if that functions as we expect. Maybe a few things that compile. I forgot the most important bit. Create asset menu, file name is equal to whatever, menu name is equal to whatever. All right, let's go ahead and come over here. So this is going to be ASCII audio label animation, and it's going to come from this portion. It's going to be label audio animation. Oh, actually, I'm going to do label animation and then audio. That's better. Okay, let's let that compile. We got a lot of British names. There's a Windsor in almost every province. Yeah, I could believe that. Well, the real question is, do you have any? What is it? What is it in Australia? North, South, or New South Wales, or whatever, or North South Wales, or something like that. I really should remember that better, because that was a pretty good That Mitchell and Webb look sketch, joking about how the British chose to name things whenever they landed. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and right around here, sparkles. I'm gonna go ahead and say right click, create, SOS, ASCII, label animation, audio. Okay. So for the most part, this should be the same. I'm going to call this Sparkle. So I'm going to go ahead and open these both up. I suppose I could do that. Let's go ahead and just create a object. I'm going to call this Sound Manager. You know what? Why bother with that? I'm just going to grab the actual resources. Game Manager. Just plop that in here. Much easier. Come back over to here and to here. There we go. Lots of things that are terrible because I really need to be better at that. Okay. Oh man, so many things that really need to finish or be changed. Simple, which means that we wouldn't really have a curve show up, but that's fine. We're gonna have one here. We're gonna have a color. What are these color and font size? Let's go ahead and just copy these real quick. So it's gonna be a curve like that, I think. Actually, how did I have that? It's just linear. That's right. So linear curve. We're gonna go ahead and come over to here. Actually, I don't need you. I just need you. Oops. All right. 10, 90. Of course. Let's go ahead and change this real quick. We're gonna come back over to here. I'm gonna steal this color because I want it. And then we're going to go ahead and come down here, come over to here, paste this, kabam. Can I just like delete that and have it be flush? Okay, that's nice. I've always just had them sort of flanking on both sides, but I guess I don't really need that. I can just kind of set it. All right, so that's the color one. We're going to go ahead and duplicate that. We're going to make this font size. I think we're going from 0 to like 40 or something like that. 30. That one was based on bell curve, like that. And now we should be able to try this. So let's go for a quick one. This is going to be terrible, but let's try it. Okay, we want this to be ground sparkle with frame rate of 60. Boom, frame rate of 60. Let's go ahead and simple should just play it at the start. We don't have to worry about it. That's going to be a little awkward. That's not quite what we want, but it'll be fine. Let's go ahead and we are going to try. Oh man. Oh man. Oh boy. That's going to have to be part of this, I guess. I'm going to have to add a context command to set it here. Anyway, so we're going to do simple. We're just going to do that. Let's go ahead and come back down here to sparkle. We're just going to replace it with this. Everything else should be the same, pretty much. Don't really have too much that we need to worry about there. Yep, we just got the audio section here. Okay, so let's go ahead and give this a try. We should be able to, whenever we play... Ooh, actually, is letter placement even... Oh man, I really wish I had some of the enhancements that I made to the sound manager at work. I don't know if this is 2D or 3D. So let's go ahead and come up to here. Sound manager. Collections. I'm pretty sure that one's going to be in the canyon. So let's go ahead and pop over to here. Torchlit, wizard, impact, letter placement. Spatial blend is a 1, which I think means that it's a... this is also something that I did at work. I think that means that it's 3D. So let's go ahead and let's try for something that's more 2D, because 3D is not going to be heard. Go ahead and pop back over here, come up to here. Torchlit, log hit, troll, bars, impact, castle, charge, soul, stealing, torch, fire, impact. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and create a new sound collection here. I'm going to call this King Conversation Sounds. All right. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and see. Do we have anything for sparkle? I can't spell sparkle because I'm a terrible speller. That's not what I want. How about twinkle? Oh, this is going to be so ear-shattering. Ugh. Yeah, sure. Why not? Okay, so it's 8-bit, 2-note, bright twinkle. Too many things. Hold on. Trying to collapse the distance here. Oh, let's try it. All right, good. So this spatial blend, we're going to crank that down to 0, volume 1, that's all fine. Instance limit, I'm going to crank that up to 5, I think we'll be fine. It's an effect. There's our name. We're going to go ahead and call this, we'll call this Crown Sparkle. Random pitch of 2.9 and 1.1, might as well. Not a loop, don't have to worry about anything else. All right, so we're going to go ahead and save that. I'm going to collapse all these fun things. We're going to go ahead and come over here. I'm going to add to this sound manager our King Conversation sounds. I am going to come up to here, and we're going to do sound sparkle. They're going to be terrible. Oh, it's going to shatter my ears. All right, let's try it. So what should happen now is when we talk to the king and his little pose animation happens where the sparkles occur, basically they should play a little sound effect whenever each animation plays. Not bad. All right, so we're going to go ahead and say simple multiple, which is going to be very different. And this is where I'm actually a little worried that I'm not going to be able to get this set up properly. I'm going to just try this. In theory, what should happen is it should evaluate when it gets to the middle, but because we have 60 frame rate, I'm not sure it can actually get to the middle. So, let's just see what happens. Actually, no, it might be able to get to the middle because of how we're evaluating that. So we're changing it to multiple. So now it should not play the audio effect at the very beginning of the animation. It should play it when it gets to the basically to a 1 value there. So let's talk. Nope. Yep, that's what I was worried about. Okay, so that means I have to do this. We're going to come up here to, there's our animation. All right, so I'm going to come up to here, and I'm going to say private, yeah, private's fine. Private. I keep wanting to make it public, but private void map audio curve. Yeah, that is problematic. Oh boy. Oh boy. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and create. Sorry, not that. Context menu. And we're gonna say map audio data. Oh, here. Map audio to curve. And all this is going to do is it's just going to say audio.curve is equal to, wow, what a terrible thing. Okay. So we're actually going to just change this. We're going to say animation curve. Curve is equal. Well, yeah, it's fine. Curve is equal to new animation curve. And this is going to take a list of keyframe keys that is correct. All right. So we want to have. Oh boy. So we're going to say keyframes is equal to new keyframe, and the total length is going to actually be frame rate times 2. That's the total length, or the total size of it. There we go. I thought that's right. Frame rate was a float. Anyway, so we have that, and basically what's going to happen here is we're going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than. Oh boy, keyframes dot length I plus plus. And then we're going to need something else here. We're going to say float delta is equal to 1/2 divided by keyframes dot length. Okay, pretty straightforward. So we're going to say keyframes of I is equal to new keyframe. And then here's where it gets fun. We're going to do this. It's going to be a little awkward. We're going to say time is equal to delta times I. Oops, and we don't want that. And then position value. There we go. Is equal to I modulo 2 is equal to 0, question mark. If that is the case, we want it to be 1. Otherwise, we want it to be 0. Okay. No, it's the other way around. We want it to be 0. Nope. Ah, the good old 1 gets us. It's going to flip this. 1. Yeah, okay. So we want this to be 0 and then 1. All right. So basically what that's going to do is it's going to have our start frame on the left be... Yeah, we got problems here. Yep. All right. We're going to pass in keyframes here. I'm just going to kind of do this and see what happens. So we're going to say that's the curve, and then we're going to go ahead and say, actually, we don't even have to do that. We're just going to say audio.curve is equal to that. And I'm also going to, while I'm doing this, we're going to go ahead and add if unity editor and if, and I'm ending that if there because I want to say unity editor unity editor dot undo. Come on, work with me. Editor dot undo dot record object this, and then we're going to say map audio to curve. All right. So, you will see what that looks like in a second. This is going to be very interesting. I'm hoping that it does everything linearly and not ease out, because otherwise that's going to be a very curvy line, which I guess is fine. So the main reason that this is a problem for this particular animation is because we have a frame rate of 60, and a frame rate of 60 means there's going to be a lot of curves in here. And I don't really necessarily want that, but this is kind of going to be what we end up doing. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and we're going to say Oh, how interesting. There was no problem. Hmm. It didn't update anything. How very curious. Well, well. All right. Let's see what happens here. I'm just going to go ahead and debug.log keyframes.length. See if we're at least getting that function called. That's interesting. Because it really should only be possible if it's... Well, no. Anyway, so the reason that we're doing this approach with this context command is because basically what I feared was true, which is I have no way of humanly knowing what the actual position is. Actually, that's a lie. I could math it out, but I don't want to do that. So there we go. Oh, oh, that's what happened. Okay. Also, yeah. So this is pretty much what I was worried about. I am going to try to do this in the center. Can I even do that? Yeah. So I'm actually going to go ahead and flatten that like that. And then I'm also going to go ahead and say map audio to curve, and then I'm going to hit the Control S. Interesting. That's a little gross. Really? All right. Not a fan of that, but it'll work, I guess. So there are a couple of other things that I could do here. One is going to be... All right, I'm going to call this map audio to curve middle. I'm going to say we are pretty much going to do the exact same thing here, except when we get to frame rate divided by, or we get to frame rate here, it's going to be a little different. So, oh boy. All right. Essentially, what this is going to do is we're going to change this to be keyframes is equal to new keyframes 3. There's going to be 3 keyframes, one at the far left, one at the far right, and one in the middle somewhere. And we're just going to say, we're going to get rid of this. Pretty much, yeah. So how this is going to work is we're just going to go ahead and do this. Down here, we're going to say new keyframe, and this is going to be 0f, 0f, new keyframe, 0f, 1f, new keyframes, 1f, 0f. Okay, so this value right here is what needs to be set. So we're going to go ahead and like make that 0.5, so it's very obvious, but we're going to move this up to here. And actually what we're going to do is we're going to say, how do I want this to work? I basically need this to be frame rate divided by frame rate, well, so frame rate times 0.5f. That is partially correct. Except it's not. So this is going to be weird because we essentially want to do this. 1f divided by frame rate times 0.5f. frame rate times. There we go. So we basically want that to be the case. So let's go ahead and try this. I want to know what it's going to do. Okay. So we're going to let that go. Oh, right. I remember why the curve isn't updating. There are a select amount of fields in Unity that are a pain to basically update properly whenever you do editor changes. So you basically change values through the editor script. Curves and gradients, I believe, were some of the most annoying. I could never get gradients to work, actually. Curves I eventually did get to work, I think, if I remember correctly, in some of my editor experiments. Excuse me. But we'll see. All right. All right. We're going to go ahead and come up to here. I'm going to say map audio to curve middle. We're going to go ahead and save. Jump back here. Let that go. I'm 90% sure that this is correct. I want to edit key though. Yep. Okay. So that just does honestly what I thought it would do, which means that I need to do this now. This is going to be gross. I really didn't want to do this, but I do not know a better way of doing this. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say debug.log lerp. So there will be 60 values that get pumped in there, and we should be able to know what those values are now. If one of them comes out as 0.5, then I'm going to be baffled as to why it's not actually working. And if it did, then that means that I had a whole lot of worry over nothing, really. But I think what actually ends up being the problem here is that I'm looking at this in terms of normal numbers, not programmer numbers. So I think what I actually need to do is I need to subtract 1 from my frame rate, and then that will give us our correct value. So as a quick theory, this frame rate should be frame rate times, well, hey, this should be correct. This should be frame rate minus 1, I think. So let's go ahead and just try this real quick. Okay. And will it play is the question. Let's talk. Sorry, talk. Huh. Okay. Well, that time it worked. Why did it work that time? I literally... What's the difference? Oh my goodness. Holy crap, no way. It's because its value was wrong. Holy crap. The bell curve values don't come out to 1 and 0.5. They come out to slightly above 0.5 and slightly below 1. Huh. Okay. That's so unexpected. I am... Wow. Okay. Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. That's the thing. I probably don't even need those positionings anymore, but I will keep them just in case. No, because this is always going to come out to 0.5, isn't it? It is. It's always going to come out to 0.5. So this is entirely pointless, basically. This one is slightly more useful, I guess. We'll leave that one in. All right. So we have the audio working. That's pretty good. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to just come down to here, and I'm going to lower this volume down to like 0.25. It really doesn't need to be any louder than that. And then we will go ahead and see what happens when I play that. should it feel like it, I guess. Camo. You can do it. Alright. So we're going to talk. Cool. Like I said, that will probably be sped up and become a little asynchronous. Well, that's an incorrect term. They will execute well, whatever. So that works. Looks pretty good. It's nice. That means the next thing that we're going to want to do is set up conversations to be able to give you items, as well as take items from you, which means that we want to change the way this works. I'm going to get rid of you because we don't need you anymore. We're going to change this to king dash ASCII animation. King crown. Yeah. Try to keep these names a little bit more streamlined. Change this. So king, crown, sparkle. Okay. So the next thing we need to do is we're going to pop over to here. Oh, wrong thing. Let's go ahead right here. Okay, I'm going to call this. I'm going to rename this. I'm just going to call this king. ASCII controller. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and come down here to conversation data. And basically what's going to happen here is for our topics data setters, we have to change this. And it's going to be a bit of a doozy, actually, which is going to suck because we're going to have to change our property drawer at the same time, which is why you should never really do property drawers before you're done with something. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and pop this open. And then I'm going to go down here to conversation topic, go to definition. You'll see that we have data criteria. And basically what's going to end up happening is we're going to need to make a new data class. And, oh boy. Probably the same thing's going to have to happen for criteria and visible criteria. Oh man, all of that has to change, of course. It'll be roughly similar, but it means that we probably want to open this up to, for example, have give me one I can use down here. That basically would allow us to say, like, only show this if this data is true or if this this item is in the inventory or this item is not in the inventory. That's actually, fortunately, I don't think we'll actually need to change much in terms of the property drawer because these are already doing their own little property drawers, so everything should evaluate fine. We just have to make a new class. All right, so we need to look for conversation avatar data. We have avatars, and here's where it gets fun. Folder. I don't want to call this effects. This is going to be, I guess, data. So this is going to be conversation data evaluation. Oh boy. Hi. Yeah. I can't think of another way to phrase it. Conversation data check? No, because it's going to be setting them to conversation data. Conversation data evaluation. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Man, this is really bad. Conversation data. I guess conversation data check. That name is just somewhat misleading because it's used for both checks and sets. Accessor, I guess. Ah, screw it. Conversation data. All right. We're going to go ahead and collapse this. We're going to collapse or get rid of that. Come over to here. I'm going to get rid of that debug. Come over to here. I think we're pretty good on the rest of this stuff for now. All right, so this is going to be a scriptable, well, not a scriptable object. It's just going to be a class. That's going to be system.serializable. Actually, this one can be a struct. If I could spell struct. So we need to type public. I don't actually know if I have a thing here. This is going to be in the name text plus namespace, of course. This is going to be data criteria. Out of curiosity, did I set this up? I do. I have a session info type, which is kind of useful. Alright. Maybe I don't need this. Maybe I can just go to data criteria, go to definition, and then I can change how this is being used. Let's go to find all references here. Is this? I'm going to come over here to switch type. Is valid. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I can actually add this sort of information. Okay. All right. So we're gonna add more features to data criteria then instead of working on a new class for this because data criteria actually needs to do this anyway. So we're gonna bump this over to here. We're gonna move type up to the very top here because that's now the most important one. Come up to here, paste this. Okay. Okay, well that seems like a whole lot of nothings for me to do this. No real reason for me to have all these constructors. Okay. Excuse me. Right. So, the way this is going to work is we are going to add, I'm going to say data values inventory values. All right, so we're going to say tooltip public. I want this to be item ID item is equal to, oh, can't do that. Right. So it's going to be the item to search player's inventory for. And then we're going to say tooltip public bool. Should this be an enum? Okay. So we're going to say in inventory. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to say if true, the target item must be in the player's inventory. If false, it must not be in player's inventory. All right. And I think that's all we need. So, all right, let's go ahead and we're going to come down to here. And we're going to change this to case session info type dot inventory break. And we're going to say if inventory dot, yeah, I didn't think so. If DQ game manager dot get inventory dot has contains item. Nope. I really not have. Really? I don't have a check for this? I could have sworn that I did. Hmm. Okay, current weight, current treasure, can carry has equipped item, display item. I honestly just thought that I had a generic has item. Find item, find item, find items, find items. Yeah, equip item, equip, quick close. Huh, nope. Alright, let's go ahead and come up to here and we're going to say just has item. So public bool has item, item ID, and we're just going to say returns true if the target, no, if an item with the target ID is inventory for the item to search for. We're going to return false, and otherwise we're going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than contents dot count I plus plus do. I'm going to peek this definition. Okay, just inventory. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and say if inventory of I dot item ID is equal to ID, return true. Let's see. Returns true if the player is currently has item with the target ID equipped. Okay. We're going to go ahead and come over to here. And we're going to say has item, and then we're going to pass in item. Then we're going to say return in inventory. All right. So, right. We're going to say, so if they do have that, then we want to return in inventory. Else, we want to return not in inventory. I guess we can go ahead and do that. That'll work. Okay. That should basically work. So let's go ahead and now I need to go to data criteria, find all references. We got to go to our custom property drawer. We're going to close this. And we got to change some things. So first things first. This is going to change actually a fair amount of what we want to do, because the comparison isn't always going to be there, which means that this now is always just going to be times 2. This needs to go to 1, so it's just going to drop. And we're going to say times 3f, followed by times 2f. Add 2 to this, 4 and 4. Oh hey, we already had this. Well, that's interesting. What are we doing with it? Nothing. Oh, well, aren't you curious? Ah, crap. We gotta change this too. We're gonna say case int session info type dot bool break. Basically gonna do this. So we need one for comparison. I think we want this to be 2 and 1. So we can get rid of you, basically. Yes. Pretty sure that's what we want. And for the string as well, I guess. Alright. Then we're going to go ahead and come down to here. Say, oh, hold on. Inventory. Do I need it to be 4? No, it's basically going to be the same, so this should be 2 and 1. Okay, let's see how poorly that goes. Then we're going to pop back down to here. Say case int session info type dot inventory break. Oh good, this is our label. Value is equal to property dot find property relative. Yeah, changed it up on me, didn't you? Let's see here. Value not equal no. Type comparison. Right. That's unfortunate, but I guess that kind of makes sense. All right. So we're not going to really worry about value. Well, no, we'll go ahead and set value. That's going to be equal to this, and that's going to be item. And then we're going to say label.text is equal to string.format. And this is going to be 0. I guess that means that I don't really need to do that, but we'll go ahead and do that. And we're just going to say value dot find property relative name dot string value. Okay. And then we get into some fun stuff, because this is no longer the case. Oh boy. Oh boy. Alright, so this is going to be ID, and this is going to be type. And we're going to change this a little bit. Think. Right. So this is going to be here. Put this here. I'm going to go ahead and say case session info type dot bool break. Copy this. Same thing for string. And then basically what I want to do is I want to come down to here, and then I'm going to say if type.int value is equal to int session info type dot inventory. Pretty much do this. I'm going to say property dot find property relative, whatever my is in inventory was. All right, I think that will work. Real quick, I'm going to scroll up because I'm paranoid. I'm always paranoid. 2F, that should give us the ID. That should give us the type. And enough spacing for that. Then we should get the target ID and the comparison. No, the value. That's what we want. Yes, yes, and yes. Okay. So let's go ahead and let it compile. See what happens. So it should, hopefully, everything should be spaced out correctly. We should just be able to check this with our conversation data once that compiles. All right. So let's see what happens here. All right, so we're going to change this just real quick to string. All right. Okay. That's a bool. Let's go ahead and come down to here and try messing with this. So we're going to say inventory hands. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a collection manager here. We're going to go ahead and do one. I'm going to look for item ID. Okay, then we can come back here. And now I can say that. Let's go ahead and do gem, I guess. All right. So let's go ahead and I'm going to set that back to 0 because I can. And I'm going to collapse this. We're going to pop back over to here. Do I have multiple visible criteria on any of these test cases? I really feel like I should. Ah, there we are. Okay, so yeah, the spacing is a little awkward here. So I'm going to pop over to here real quick. And I guess I'm going to make this 3. It's a little tight. I'm going to add a third thing down here. I'll pop you open. So this should give us a little bit more breathing room in a second. At least when it feels like it. And kapow. Any day. I believe in Unity. Tiny bit. There we go. A little bit of extra room. We're going to change this to inventory. All right. I think we're pretty good there. I'm going to change this to gem. Yeah, that's all fine. So I'm actually going to shrink this back down to 2. I'm going to add a new topic, just because I want to have something that's a little separate and easier for me to test against. Let's collapse all this fun stuff. All right, I'm going to make this 7. We're going to change this to, what else do we have here? Kandarian Dagger. Pretty sure I spelled that right. We're just going to go ahead and we're going to do none here. We're going to We'll set that to none. This is also a valuable way for me to test this if that works. We're going to go ahead and change this to speaking output that is... let's see. So the first one will be if we have it, we'll say oh, oh, you have it. Keywords, we'll look for Kandarian and Dagger. That's pretty good. Data setters, don't really need much to do there. Criteria, we don't really need anything about. Visible criteria, it's going to be down to 1. I'm going to set this to be a inventory check. It's looking for gem, and we want it to be in the inventory. I'm going to bump this up to 8, and we're going to say Kandarian Dagger. Both of these are going to be the same thing. That's a really long label, but it'll be fine. And we'll be like, never heard of it if you don't have it in the inventory. So we're going to come back down to here. We're going to change this to not in inventory. All right. Next, I'm going to go ahead and grab this. And we're just going to drop this in here. Yoink. Kind of position this a little bit over here. Let's go ahead and turn on initially enabled, because why not? Alright. So, I am going to stretch. Yeah. Alright. Okay. Let's go ahead and talk. Should have played more than once. Curiosity. Alright. That only played 3 animations. It should play 5. The fact that it only played 3 makes me think that it can't restart the animation, which is probably true. I think that's something I ran into before. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and say Dagger. Well, that didn't work. Which, actually, now that I think about it, let me go ahead and stop playing. I'm going to grab this. Let me see if they're reversed or something. Talk. Yep. It's not refreshing. All right. So Dagger. Neither of those worked. Okay. So that is very curious. I mean, I did set this up, right? Inventory, yeah. If the game manager.get inventory has item. Alright, I'm gonna, I guess, put debugs in here. Something I hate to do. Say debug.log has item. Doesn't have item. Alright, let's see what happens here. Because it can't possibly be that I had the item the entire time. That doesn't make sense. So evaluated that I did have the item. We would want it to return in inventory. Evaluated that I didn't have the item. We want it to return not in inventory. Yeah, that's correct. Oh. Oh, I want this to be the reverse. How embarrassing. Except it still wasn't. I want this to yeah, sure. That's fine. Alright. So we're going to go ahead and clear this. Let's go ahead and play. Let's give it a shot. Talk. Yeah, you said I don't have the item. Well, then... Wow. 6 times? That's a bit excessive. Why? Dagger. Uh... Huh. How curious. So... In both cases, it evaluated it doesn't have item, which is true. Hold on, let's find this. Because it shouldn't be going through there. How interesting. Oh, it's probably because it's pinging all that. Um, huh. Okay. Let me think. This is weird. I'm gonna pop back here because our type is inventory. We don't have the item. All right, so I'm gonna do this. Do new line plus what is it? Text. Oh no, this is just nothing. Right. Right. So, ha, ha. Okay. This is super weird. Um, I guess let's check if it's evaluating correctly when we do have the item. It's very strange. Not a fan of this. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and take that. I'm gonna say talk. Okay. So here's what's interesting now that I think about it. It should be visible, actually, because that was all I did was add that to the visible criteria. That's it. So if we come up to here, sorry, down to here, apparently, it's one day going to be here. Where did I put you? Right here. So we're going to come back over to here. So basically, we don't have any criteria. We're just checking visible criteria, which we have two separate ones. One that states that it should be in the inventory and one that states that it shouldn't. So it is properly detecting that we have it in there. The question is, huh? This is very strange. Let's go for dagger. Ah, I know what's happening. I was stupid. I do need to set the criteria. But the visible criteria also should be set up, which is interesting. There we go. That was me being stupid. This should be set to any. This should be set to any. And these need to be set the same. So these criteria both need to be special and set up specifically for it. So we need to go to inventory. We want this to be gem, and we want it to be in our inventory, and we want this to be inventory, and we want this to be gem, and we want this to not be in inventory. So what was happening is because I made it so that both of them were valid, if you typed them in manually, what was happening is it was getting to the first one first, and it was always going to output, oh, you have it. So now it should properly evaluate. So let's go ahead and let this play, and then we should get some decent effects. So let's go ahead and hit play. That was just me being silly. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and say talk. Okay, so that means that that coroutine probably never finishes, which is not great. So we have Kandarian Dagger here. Right. Why not? Huh? Oh, right. It's because I'm stupid. Again. This also needs to have Kandarian Dagger as like a valid thing because that's what the label says. So let's go ahead and we're gonna come up to here, go to our keywords. So 3, kaboom, kaboom, do do do. All right. Okay. So I think yes. So we should be good there. Let's go ahead and save this, and let's run through this one more time. Okay. So go ahead and say talk. Dagger. Okay, we don't have it, so he's not going to talk to us. Take. Talk. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm mad because this wasn't selected, which is very frustrating. We're going to try this again. There we go. Okay, so now it's evaluating properly. So I got to be careful with that. That's a bit of a gotcha, which makes sense. So we now have a way of checking if you have an item, or if you don't. And the next thing we really need to do is add support for giving you an item. And this is interesting because it changes kind of how we would, well, you know what? No, no, I guess it doesn't. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna come up to here, and for our conversation data criteria, I'm gonna come up to here, conversation avatar, topic, name, test topic. Ah, oh, that's a bit unfortunate. Uh, yep. So let's go ahead and pop back over to here. Well, actually, it should be under conversation topic, shouldn't it? Wrong thing. Data setters is what I was going for. All right, no, that's fine then. So let's try. Oh boy, that's gonna really suck. Um, wow. So I've actually got to change this a fair bit. One, I need to come over here to data criteria. Come over to here. Get rid of this. We're gonna streamline this stuff. So boom, boom, boom. Okay. I'm gonna come up to here. I have to change this because this value, this tooltip here is true if we're checking data. I guess. Oh boy, There's gonna be a very long statement. Um, when checking data, kaboom, and then we're gonna go ahead and come down to here, paste that, and then I'm gonna say new line. When setting data, if true, the target item is added to the player's inventory. If false, it is removed from the player's inventory. Okay. Okay. So we're going to come down to here to a conversation topic. And for set data, we need to do some checks. We're going to say if it's in the inventory, we're going to say break. And here is where things get awkward because tq game manager dot get inventory dot. So there's add item to inventory, but it takes an actual item, which means that I need to have a reference to the item prefab, which means that I need to do this. tq game manager dot get. Well, actually no. Dot item database. There we go. Dot. You know, it would be very nice if I had. Oh, that's fine. Find item. Oh, right. Data setters of I dot item. Okay. I'm going to go to definition here. This should return the prefab, I think. Huh. Awkward. Why would I do it this way? Huh. Yeah, I don't know why I would do it that way. Let's go ahead and find all references. Is this ever used? Um, wow, this is terrible. Find all references. Yeah, okay, so that's not ever used. Here's the question. Is this ever used with the freaking name? Because I don't think that it is. It is definitely not. So I'm going to get rid of that. Only knows what I was trying to do with that. Get rid of this. This is worthless. Okay. Wow. Terrible. All right. So what we're going to do here, and really this should not be a thing, except I can guarantee that this is totally used. What are you doing, cat? Find all references. All right, cool. So that's never used, which is fun. I'm going to change this. We're going to go ahead and say, first up, find all references. Does this have a custom editor? It does. We are going to change this to a lowercase I, and we are just going to, wow, so many terrible things. Items is equal to null. Oh man, I'm starting to spiral. This is all old, really, really, really old code. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yep. Yep, yep, yep. Holy crap. Holy crap. No way. Oh my goodness. This is. Wow. This is awful. Um. Yeah. Oh boy. All right. Let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to say Unity engine dot serialization dot formally serialized as. We're going to standardize this to make this a little bit closer to my conventions nowadays. Make that to lowercase items. Everything else should be fine. Cool. So rename this. I'm going to find all references here. Yeah, so I'm going to say rename this. Not that. Rename. I'm going to say find item prefab, and I'm going to change this to get item prefab. Oh boy, let's get rid of a bunch of stuff while we're in here. So this is probably the only system.link thing I'm doing. Cool. Which means that all I need to do is do this. For int I equals 0, I is less than items.count I plus plus. And then we're going to say if item dot item ID, oh, not that, sorry, if items of I dot item ID is equal to item ID, we will return items of I. Otherwise, we're going to return null. Also, well, because this is a list, I suppose that makes sense. All right. So we'll keep that like that. Let's go ahead and... Man, this is going to be so much fun. All right, we're going to come back here, and we are going to say get item prefab. We're going to say item is equal to this. And then we're going to say add item to inventory, item. Oh, wait. Nope. No. We're actually going to do this as pool manager dot request this. And for good measure, just to be safe, we're actually going to position it at a very low point. We're just going to say like new vector 3 0f negative 500f 0f. And then we're going to go ahead and say quaternion.identity. All right. And we're just going to say, I don't even have to do that. We're just going to come down to here. We're going to add you. Get rid of you. And I'm just going to say spawn the item at a low location to avoid pop in. Okay. And honestly, I think that's all we really need to do. And then what we're going to do here actually is we're going to say, I'm going to wrap this. I'm going to say if what was it? Data setters of I dot in inventory. We're going to do this. Else. Pretty much do the same thing, except we're going to say dot remove from inventory. Of course, you will do that, and that means I'm going to actually go to definition here. There should be a way for me to get rid of this just purely based on item IDs. Let's see. Hi, Cat. Welcome to the party. I'm going to come back down here. So we have remove item from inventory, display inventory. All right. So I'm just going to come up to here, and I'm just going to say public void remove item from inventory, item ID, item bool destroy is equal to false, bool remove all equals false, bool save coordinate is equal to false. I don't know why that would ever be false, honestly. All right, so all we're going to do here is we're going to say item target item is equal. Screw this. I'm just going to call this ID. Make this item is equal to find item ID. And then we're going to say if item does not equal null. We're going to say item from inventory, item, destroy, remove all, save coordinate. Okay, rename this. Okay. Go ahead and do that. We're gonna come over to here. Drop that. Remove given item from the inventory, ID for the target item. Okay, so now I should be able to come down here. We're gonna say item, and for data setters of item, and then true. Okay, we don't really care about anything else. Ha! Alright. So for this, we should be able to go ahead and set up some data here. Okay, so I have an idea, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up two conversation topics. One that will remove the gem from your inventory, and one that will add a scepter to your inventory. That should work. And it should, in theory, do everything that we would expect. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and collapse this. We can collapse you. Change you to any. Probably should be anyway, any. You're all good. You're all good. Boom, 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 boom. Alright. Let's go to 10. We're going to call this truce. Give me the dagger. We'll go ahead and just say truce. Or deal. That's good enough. This is a test. Go ahead and do that. Now, data setters is where we get fun. We're going to change this to inventory. It is going to remove gem from the inventory, so that's all we need to do. And the criteria for this is going to be that the gem is in your inventory, and the visible criteria is going to be that the gem is in your inventory. Those are all good. All right. Now, what we need to do is, for this next topic, we're going to want to say, no visible criteria. We don't really care about that. No criteria. Don't really care about that. And data setters is going to do one thing. We're going to say prophecy. Why not? That's a 1. Prophecy. I can't spell. There we go. I don't know why. I'm so terrible at spelling. I am just the worst. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and copy this. Paste that down here. It is a speaking output. We'll say, here you go. Data setters, we're going to add to our inventory the scepter. Scepter. There we go. All right. And for this one, just to be sure, we are removing it. All right. Let's try this. These criteria are, yep, I did set them to 0. Good. Kaboom, kaboom. All right. Let's do this then. Oh, really? That was interesting. It didn't want to give me nothing here. All right, weird. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and say clear this, and then I'm gonna go ahead and hit play. So, what do I want to do here? I'm going to first. I'm going to talk to him. Say talk. Okay. Dagger. Never heard of it. Prophecy. Here you go. Let's go back. Let's go to inventory. Ooh, we got a null reference, huh? Oh, right. Yeah, that's all fine. I'm not too worried about that. Okay, it's going to break everything, though. Because, of course, it is. Dark manager. And, of course, let's just post-process. Volume, it's global. Why not? We'll give it a standard one. I don't know, the castle. That's fine. We'll give it every single one of these. That's all good. Cat, you are really messing with me. All right. Let's go ahead and hit play again. So once we confirm that the gem gets removed, I'm probably going to cut it off there for the night. The next step for me is going to be making the little like on-screen modal that shows up, and I'm kind of thinking something similar to Killer 7 if you've ever played that game, which is basically like a little window pops up that comes up from, in that game it's from the left I believe, and then it shows like dot whatever. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I want to say take. Talk. Truce. Okay, then it goes away. That's good. Let's go ahead and say prophecy. Keep doing that. Prophecy. Okay, let's go back. Dagger, here you go. Let's go ahead and say I. Scepter is there. Hold staff. Alright, nice. Hooray! It works! It works! It does everything that we need. And then we can line them all up for an amazing shot. Cool. So, let's go ahead and stop playing. Cat. Climb down. So, we now have conversations set up to support playing audio. Well, so ASCII animations are set up to support audio, and they can play that audio in various ways. Conversations are set up to now examine the inventory, so it can check if you're carrying an item. Yeah, I need to change that to an enum. Yeah, I do. I gotta change that to an enum. Because there could be situations where it's like you gotta be wearing the item, not just have it in your inventory. So I'm probably gonna change that from a bool to an enum that's like in inventory, not in inventory, wearing, and then I'll go ahead and just add enum fields for removing or add to inventory and remove from inventory. Pretty straightforward. Okay. I think. Let's see. I think that's a pretty good summary of what we did so far. So announcements. This coming Saturday, I may not. I'm probably going to be out of the. I'm not going to be able to stream on Saturday. I'm thinking I'm probably going to try to stream on Sunday again. It'll probably around 12:30 Eastern time, which I know is a little early for people on the West Coast. I do apologize for that, but schedules unfortunately have me pinned down a bit. So just be aware that that's going to be happening, and then next Saturday, so not this coming Saturday, but the Saturday after that, like I said last time, I'm going to be showcasing at a small games event in town, and that's going to be all day basically for me. So I'm not going to be streaming that weekend, I'm guessing. Cat, yes, I see you. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good place to stop for the night. So, as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.